Well, hello everybody. Um, it's a sad day for baseball and for Braves fans, and especially our dear friend, baseball card addict. So, Chris, what's the latest? I was out of commission all day at kids' birthday parties and whatnot, so I missed everything except the random text that I got from you. So, can you fill
I
us
think
in on what happened?
I think the texts were pretty clear. Hopefully, you weren't around your kids when you opened them, and if you were, hopefully they can't quite read some of those words that I sent. Um, yeah. So here, I will just throw this up here real quick. I assume if you're watching this video, you are aware that we are in what is commonly referred to as a worst case scenario. Um, so Acuna, despite if you saw the game today, man, my first reaction was just like, where the hell are you going? Why are you trying to steal third on a throwback to the pitcher? It's not 8 and under. But yeah, he kind of crumpled to the ground a little bit, but got up, walked off the field. I was trying to like reassure myself because we know that we've seen before he's kind of a drama queen when it comes to injuries. He doesn't have a high tolerance for pain,
That's
but
what I thought when you sent the text. I thought he has a penchant for drama, and I thought maybe a few days off and he'd be back in there.
yeah, he said in his post game comments that it didn't feel anything like 2021 in Miami. He said it felt kind of like 2018 when he was at Fenway. And he just tweaked it. He sprained it, and he had to miss about 4 weeks or so. So that's what he was expecting. And then they did this MRI, and so he is 26 years old, and he will go into his age 27 season with 2 surgically repaired ACLs.
The,
I don't even know.
there's a lot to unpack here and a lot to look at towards the future, both individually and as a team. Here, let me just throw this up because this is
Hold on before you do that. I got a request to. I should have gone over to this as well. So Acuna, obviously, he's an emotional guy. This is what he tweeted out. Just sorry with a broken heart and tears, which is, I think that's pretty much exactly how all of us feel.
Yeah, so Nate's Cards and More sums it up pretty well here. The age 22 through age 26 season, the COVID season 2020, 2021, torn ACL. 2022 was limited. 2023, of course, he came back, won the MVP, and now this. I think this question that Jimmy B had is on everybody's mind as well.
I honestly don't think he was. I really do not think he was. I think it was just a timing issue that he was starting to work out. I mean, his May numbers were a big improvement over his horrific April numbers, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. It was his right knee that he had sort of tweaked a little bit in spring training, the original one that he had hurt, and this is obviously his left knee. I think that the big question, I think that everyone is wondering, what do we do with Acuña's cards at this point? And that is a fantastic question because if you could can you pull up Nate's cards no more, his comment? Because I was going to roll through it, but it's easier to read it than to listen to my cracking voice try to get through this. But yeah, we're talking about 5 seasons now, and it's brutal. Like, he's lost 4 of them to either COVID or injury. So I mean, I hate to say this stuff, but I think there's certain things at this point that we have to write off as not being possible. He's not getting 3,000 hits. He's not getting 500 home runs. He's not going to score 2,000 runs. I don't know how long he'll be able to go with 2 surgically repaired knees. But if I'm running the Braves, I'm moving him to left when he comes back. You put Kelnick in right. That should be fine. And I mean, he can't. They're going to have to rein him in on the bases.
And Jeremy brings up an excellent point as well. That contract is almost up.
I think it's longer than that. I think there's options on there.
Okay.
I think he's here till 2028.
Right.
But I will look that up.
But you bring up his cards, and this is something we talked about all of last year because he was just so utterly dominant. and yet we didn't see his cards move as much as we thought they might. In fact, some of his cards ended up going down, as we talked about. And repeatedly, I kept saying that I think what the hobby needs to see is 2 years of that from him. 2 years of being able to stay healthy, being productive. And I just,
Yeah.
we're obviously not going to see it now.
We're not going to see it now. Yeah, I mean, the hopeful side of me, and it's really hard to get in touch with that side of me right now, says that, because he could walk off the field, maybe the recovery this time will be a little bit easier. I mean, I know last time, if you remember, he was in a golf cart, like he couldn't move. Here he even said in the clubhouse that the pain was sort of subsiding, though possibly that was due to some pain medications
Right.
he could have been on, who knows?
Yeah.
But he was definitely not standing up, walking around after 2021. But yeah, I think we have, at this point, I think we can say, Jeff, and I hate to say this, but I think we've probably seen the ceiling on Acuña's cards. I think there's going to have to be a resettling over the next 6 to 8 months before the opening day next year.
Right. And with his history, what does he have to do? Winning an MVP didn't do it for his cards. What would he have to do after 2 injuries?
Right. I mean, I'll be honest. I know you and I are we're going to end up being bag holders on some of his stuff, but it's fine. I was in it for the long run anyway.
Same.
Obviously, some selling windows probably were missed. I also sort of, listen, there's big names in the hobby that aren't in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he can't get there. But it's going to have to be an unusual path, a path of weird peaks and hype.
Yes.
It's not going to be a path of cumulative numbers, it certainly makes Juan Soto look all the more appealing. A guy who doesn't even run hard. He doesn't steal bases. He doesn't really work hard in the outfield. So, someone like him is going to be on the field. So if you're looking for cumulative stats, that was probably always going to be the better avenue. Yeah, I just need a couple sips.
Probably, here. But it seems like just some of these are fluke injuries as well. They're not necessarily to. I didn't see the play today, so I'm not sure exactly referencing that play. But it sounds like it just was a fluke thing, and we've seen people go down non-contact injuries a lot.
Yeah. Knees just seem to be buckling. So as a reminder, he had doubled, which was to center field, which was a great start to the game. He's on second after Albies made his first pitch out. He's still on second. Ozuna took a strike. Again, this is all that's more shocking than anything else. And the catcher sort of he's been real slow on his throwbacks to the pitcher. And Acuña thought he saw an opening. Third baseman's not paying any attention. But then the catcher gunned the ball back to the pitcher and he had to stop and turn. And there isn't really a great video of it because why would there be video of him on second base? But the Braves announcer basically just shits his pants when he sees him falling on the ground. And that was sort of our first clue that something terrible had happened. If you're a Braves fan, it's time for Michael Harris and Jared Kelenic to kind of take over a little bit.
Yeah, it's strange because of how poorly he's been doing relative to what we were expecting him to be this year.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of talk about possible regressions, but he was certainly far exceeding that. Was showing some signs of life. I will say, I think the question is, Jeff, what do we do here?
Well, M. Parsons is looking at the silver lining. This is a shot for all the Kelenic cards I have collecting dust.
I'm honestly surprised. I'm surprised to see M. Parsons in here because she said she couldn't watch this because it was just going to be too sad.
Well,
I can tell you that.
I guess it's probably like a car wreck. She just can't look away.
I was on my phone and I made a sound, and I based on her reaction, I think she thought that a family member had just passed away. But this makes me more sad. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of does. So the question is, Jeff. Let's say if a Sapphire PSA 10 was selling for, let's call it $3,500 today, this morning, and you have one, you're not getting $3,500 for it tomorrow.
No.
Do you honestly foresee a time in the next 12 months where you could get $3,500 for that card again?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. So the question is like, do you just? I would honestly not blame anybody. I'm not suggesting this. Jeff and I aren't going to do this. I wouldn't blame anyone that takes their whole Acuna PC and just puts it up on eBay and just sort of walks away from it. There's a world where that makes sense. I don't know if we're in that world because we don't know how he's going to come back from this. But when he does, he'll be 27, and like Nate's comment pointed out, he'll have 2 full seasons under his belt.
Yeah,
which is absolutely like gut wrenching when you think
it's
about
shocking. And this affects more than his cards too. Our good friend Filmington, who is a wax connoisseur, much more than I am, but I love 2018 wax. But that's taken a real beating today.
it. It certainly will. To answer Will's sports cards, what stage of grief am I in? Jeff, what are the stages? Acceptance. I mean, acceptance is at the end, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, I'm past denial. There's no point in living in that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are. I think I've also passed anger. I think the alcohol might be partially responsible for that. Alcohol does tend to cheer me up, even in the worst of times. There's a bargaining, but I mean, I don't know. What could I do? I mean, if the baseball gods, want to come have a bukkake party and that will fix this, I'm down. You might have to bleep that, Jeff. But I don't think bargaining is going to help either.
Well, one of the many frustrating things is he is so talented, and that's what people keep bringing up in the for feeling it is what it is right now. Let me get back to what Will's tried to say here. There you go. That he is so talented. Okay. Yeah. So can he come back? I don't know. I mean, of course he can. Amori Smith says peak years are typically 26 to 33. That's true, except for when players come up really young, as we've seen, the peak tends to come a little earlier. And also, how can I don't know? We'll see how he can do with 2 completely surgically repaired knees.
Yeah, that's the thing with me. Like, even if they tell him to rein it in on the bases, which I'm sure they will at this point, there's no way they're going to want him running with the sort of reckless energy that he usually does. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what those needs are going to be like. I'm just going to be making that sound a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, Doc's cards. Yeah, man. I mean, everybody hurts by REM. That's a good choice. Yeah.
And Doc's also throwing this out there about Chipper.
Did he have 2? I know he had 1, but he had one right at the beginning that delayed the start of his career, which is almost better, I think, than one right essentially in the middle of it. Like, we're in what should be his prime, obviously. I think we can look and, I mean, last year he's fully healthy. He did a whole bunch of stuff no one's ever done before. And I mean, it's tough. It's tough. My wife actually said I should take a bunch of cards and sell them like right away. She's like, you're going to take losses, but it'll probably only just get worse. And I was like really impressed at the sort of thoughtfulness of that comment.
And this is right. I mean, CC, just like Chris is talking about, there are going to be people selling and a lot of selling. So if you're looking for stuff, you'll probably be able to find it. It just depends what bargain means. Will it be cheaper in a month, 2 months? What about this off season when he hasn't played at all?
Yeah. What do you want to do with those cards? Like, if you're buying them because you love him, you love him like I do, then that makes sense. But if you're buying them because you think, man, they're going to go up. I mean, like Jeff was saying, in 2023, he had an incredible season and we didn't see a ton of movement. Some of the really rarest stuff jumped, but like even the SSPs at an update actually trickled down slightly. Mm-hmm. A lot of them came up for sale. So, I mean, I think what we're probably going to see is a similar pattern here. Like, people are going to hold. They're going to hold through this year. And then when he comes out, whenever he returns next year, if he starts playing well, we're going to see eBay flooded. So, I mean, it's possible that you'll actually do better if you wait to buy. You might see a greater supply out there, like sometime next May.
Yeah. Barracuda has a comment, and I've been saying this as well, which you never can trace an injury to something specific, but maybe playing so much baseball is just too hard on his body. And I think that Barracuda has a point. His international something's going to have to take a back seat, and I don't know. That would seem the logical part.
Yes, I actually I would agree. At the time I was just like, oh wow, he really loves the game. He's playing. I think he only played the home games in Venezuela in his home park from the city he grew up in. But yeah, I mean, they just can't do that anymore. Like, they're just going to have to really start babying him a little bit. You know, some games in left, some games at DH.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Um,
Immersion has something in here that I think is probably extremely accurate.
agreed.
Everyone's going to start stuffing Acuna into repacks.
Oh,
without a doubt.
I was checking out Immersion's other comment, and this could go one of two ways. Yeah, it could go into the other big dudes if we're talking Ohtani, Betts, Soto, Judge, but it also could make people fearful because what happens when Judge gets 80 games in center field? Does he go down with an injury? I don't know. So it could go either way. I could see either way happening.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff and I actually had a conversation after this happened in the still comfortably in the throes of the depression stage. And we're basically just saying, like, if you want to collect right now, who is safe? And I don't really think there's anybody.
No, and we've been especially snake bitten by the last several players that we decided to go in since the end of last season, including Garrett Cole, Spencer Strider, and Ronald Acuna. So I don't know. I mean, we've been told for years that the place to go is vintage. I see Jimmy B mention that, and Matthew, which is just not something that we particularly enjoy. But it's hard to argue when you see players consistently going down like this that there aren't better ways to collect.
Yeah, Leo McGregor, this is his take would be sell your Acuna tomorrow, and then just look to rebuy it. You know, see what you can get tomorrow. You're going to take a hit. It just depends on, what kind of hit can you stomach? What kind of patience do you have? Because if it's worth $100 today, tomorrow it's worth 80, probably 60, maybe somewhere between 60 and 80. By opening day next year, which he may be available for, he may not. It's probably like a $45 card. So
I think that low point would be right around Christmas, January, when we don't even know if he's going to be into spring training. Once spring training starts, the prices might go up a little bit, but there's definitely going to be some dips. Wills makes a good point. I've usually bought guys mid-career, hype is down and less risk. Absolutely. But at the same time, I mean, that's what Chris and I thought about Garrett Cole, and we bought a month too early on him. So there's just.
But I would say that strategy kind of speaks to Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts being very. I mean, I can't even. What can you say? They seem very safe. Freeman plays every day. Betts at shortstop still terrifies me. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like he's one sidearm throw away from his shoulder or elbow just exploding. But I don't know. This is a rough holiday weekend.
Yeah. Freddie Freeman is a safe buy. Yeah, there's a handful of guys, and I was telling Chris my immediate knee-jerk reaction was not buying any more active players, and then I thought of maybe some players that are more towards that end of that Hall of Fame trajectory path that might be worth buying. But this is on the heels too that we didn't even talk about. We didn't even talk about Trout. This is on the heels of Trout going down with another injury, and now he's gone 8 straight years of only having one season over 140 games. And look at the path he was on early in his career.
Yeah, I look at the path he's on now is obviously dramatically different.
Yeah, exactly. Maury Smith says Freeman, Betts, Harper, and Harper's another one that I don't know. I mean, he's got such peaks and valleys. He is a fan favorite. I don't know.
Yeah, Harper's definitely seems like one of those guys that like his card values will overstate his like actual stats because people just love him, and that's perfectly fine. We see that in the hobby all the time. Like, look at Don Mattingly's cards. You think you're going to get a Don Mattingly Donruss rookie for $10 because he's not in the Hall of Fame? Wrongo. So I mean, there's always like the hobby has people it loves, and those people are always going to be popular. Now Acuña, I mean, man, it's just I'm starting to get like real Eric Davis vibes.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Strawberry without the cocaine, hopefully.
So much talent, but just can't stay healthy for full seasons. And Candler's right. If we wanted safe, we'd go buy a government bonds. Cards aren't safe. There's a lot of issues with collecting vintage. So I'm not going to say that they're free from any risk, but this specific type of risk is something they're free from.
Yes, I mean, I'm still waiting for the first like heavily collected vintage player, like to pass away, and they're going through his stuff, and there's like a bunch of like dead kids in his basement or something. Because I don't think we're ever free from being concerned about people and what they do in their personal lives.
Well, let's just say that it's very lucky that there wasn't more social media and cell phones around throughout the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. There would be a lot of players who are collected now that wouldn't be.
Yeah. So Brendan Ryan here, I think we might want to just hit this real briefly again. Why not look at this as, because Brendan, I think the main answer is this a dip, or is it a correction?
Because it seems like there's a dip in progress. Where does it reach the bottom? Yes. If you're really good at timing the market, and you can say, all right, well, I'm going to target that Sapphire card in November because it's going to be a $1,500 card. Great. Sure. But I don't know. It's a tough speculation game.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, if you're at all concerned that what type of player he's going to be after having both knees like surgically reconstructed, then you can't buy any of his cards expecting them to make money for you. And I have thrown up in my mouth here saying this stuff. Like it hurts. Like this.
But
really
see, the thing more than that bothers me, even just the knees, because he seems to, at least last year, fully recovered from that specific knee injury. So yes. I thought, okay, fine. But the fact that I hate to say injury prone, but that seems to be the way it is. So even if the knees are okay, I mean, is he going to be like Trout pulling a calf rounding second base? It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I listen, I hate to say this too. This is going to make me like eventually tear up a little bit, but yeah, injury prone is what we have to call it. Like this sucks, but you can't have both knees surgically repaired before you're 27 and not be considered injury prone. Like at this, what we're going to see is a massive drop in his cards, and for them to go up again after this, if he comes out next year and wins the MVP and goes 45-75, I think everyone's going to sit on their hands and be like, show me again.
Yeah, agreed. And that's what we thought this year. So like we said, we might need to show it multiple times after this. Right. At least with Freeman and Betts, like Chris was talking about, the style of Freeman's game lends itself more to being consistently in the lineup, which is great.
Yeah. And
Chris, what do you think about this?
I was going to go back and find an article about like a preseason Braves article summarizing like how stacked their roster was, and look at it today, and it's a shooting gallery at this point. Like third baseman out, starting catcher out for 2 months, right fielder, leadoff hitter out for the season, number one pitcher out for the season. I think I'm going to have to just start rooting for a team I don't like, Jeff. I don't see another way around it. But
yeah, and then you might start liking them enough to see them go down to some injuries. Health, Barracuda. Health is the biggest answer. He's got to be healthy to try to get to the WAR he would need.
Cardboard Showcase. Welcome to the pity party. I'm hoping that there's enough Jack Daniels left in this body to make me stop feeling anything. Fingers crossed. I do still like that card. But kind of is what it is, I suppose. Dude, don't say Eric Davis. I listen at Will Sports Cards. I mean, I feel like it's, yeah. Yes, this is a Shelly the Turtle with a positive look out here. The difference between Davis and Acuña is that Acuña does have that one MVP. There is a path to 60 WAR, which I think someone said, but as an outfielder, I don't think that's like an automatic ticket.
Yeah, and I was just we were talking about WAR on recent spitballing episodes last week. We were talking about Freddie Lynn and comparing some Hall of Fame guys who've won MVPs. You mentioned Dale Murphy and his 2 MVPs. You got a guy like Darrell Evans, who somebody brought up in our comments, who ended up with 58 WAR and didn't sniff the Hall of Fame. So
Didn't sniff it.
yeah.
Johnny Black, I mean, you're exactly right. I don't know. Well, I'll have to do some research. I didn't have a chance tonight and see if any players who else has been through this and how they returned. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Doesn't mean they're not there. It just means it's not something I normally think about. This made me smile. Will Sports Cards. I appreciate anything that can make me smile right now. I like seeing it. ATL Jeff Black. Yes, I think that's a fantastic letter. Really fun. I'm not gonna share that comment. I think I've already pushed the limits of what's appropriate for YouTube. But yes, that is also funny. I might need to read that again. Immersion through ask about how many years for Acuña's contract with options. He'll be a Brave through 2028. I mean, I don't know. At this point, honestly, when I think about Acuña's career, if you've seen the movie Looper, Jeff, have you?
Yes.
I'm starting to think about that scene of the guy trying to get back to the gangsters.
Yeah.
And in the past, they're like cutting his body apart. So in current, things of his body's just falling apart as he goes.
Yeah.
That's kind of the visual that I have in my head, which is extremely dark and sad.
That is dark. Speaking of dark but real, Brendan Ryan says the ebb and flow of panic sellers thinking they'll get back in later, may get the chance, but at what cost? Holding cards, the dying practice these days. And sadly, that he's right. I mean, there's even as a collector, which Chris and I are primarily collectors, but even as collectors, you don't like to see cards that you buy, that you spend your money on, go to zero. Even if the axiom of collect what you like is there, you don't want to see all the value drop out of it, especially since we use that value when we sell cards to get other cards, and it's kind of a moving process. But yeah, holding cards is pretty tough, especially of active players.
It is, yeah, and you don't really. The thing is, like, Jeff and I are both kind of positive people, and I think our collection might be a little bit better if one of us was just like a hater and a negative person, because we're always like seeing the positives on things. But when things like this happen, you just look back and you're like, man, there was a lot of profit to be had for us on some of Acuña's stuff that now probably will never be had.
Oh yeah, and my Sapphire, which I got in a trade, it's already way down from the value got in the trade, but the cards that I traded for it were also down in value, so it's fine. But there was a lot of interest in it in spring training, and I just couldn't part with it. Of course, I wish I had now, based on the value, but it's hard.
All right, a couple quick things I just want to mention. Jimmy B Cards got his Judge Gold Mirror. Congrats. I think that's an awesome looking card. Doc's card says his backup team is the Orioles. I mean, the Braves are still going to make the playoffs. And if my wife actually was very supportive and told me the last time Acuña got badly hurt, they won the World Series.
It's true.
Yeah. So the roster is still good. There's just a lot of pressure. All that talk about Kelenic being able to hit last and be without pressure, unfortunately, I think that time is now past. There is now going to be pressure on him.
Yeah. Yeah. But also opportunity, right?
Yes. Ben Berman, look, seeing what's happened, you sure you want me on that bandwagon? What you should say is you want me to start rooting for the Yankees or something, because
I don't know. Endeavors has been, except for that, the brief injury earlier this year, has been one of the steadier players in our collection, right?
Right. Non-Dodger division. Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Ooh. Shelly the Turtle asks, how many Hall of Famers have won multiple MVPs and have less than 60 WAR, and are there any? And that's a great question. That's going to require a bit of digging, but I'm guessing there's going to be a couple, because usually they do look at MVP voting. Maybe a catcher? I don't know.
They do. How many did Sandy Koufax win?
MVPs?
Yeah. Did he win more? Did he win one?
I think one, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Because you'd have to have a short career. I mean, but very well played career to go into MVPs.
All peak, right? Yeah, it's got to be an all peak. Very short, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, man, I just keep thinking about poor Chris Sale, who was so happy to come to Atlanta and not have to be the man. And then Strider goes down and Fried comes out in his first 3 starts and can't get anybody out. And all of a sudden they're like, I need you to be the man, buddy.
Yeah, like you said before, him and Ozuna, who would have thought that those would be the 2 all-stars coming into this year?
Right.
Yeah, Mookie, we did talk about Dale Murphy, and he's a frequent topic on our show.
Oh, wow. I am way behind. Oops.
Won those back-to-back MVPs, and is not in for a variety of reasons. Also, injuries cut his career short, sadly.
Yeah, Shelly the Turtle, you're right. Chipper's ACL tear was in like 1994 when he basically been given the starting shortstop job. And of course, he ended up playing third base after, one knee tear. And he had a great, long, prosperous career. But Nate's Cards and More asks the real question is who in the Hall of Fame had wrecked knees this young? Mickey Mantle will be one, but he only had one wrecked knee. And we don't even know how badly wrecked it was. I assume at minimum he played his career with a torn meniscus.
Yes, it was bad for sure.
Yep. So Jeff, here's my question to you. We have a couple really nice shared Ronald Acuna Jr. cards, including like a Topps Black, a Topps Independence Day.
Oh yeah.
Let that realization sink in. What are your thoughts? Tell me if you are considering right now putting those up on eBay, looking at comps, like say the last Black sold for $3,000. Tomorrow you want to put it up for $2,000 and just take it and tuck our tail between our legs, call it a day?
I think the wise thing to do would be to at least take a haircut on the collection. So deciding there's got to be a couple that have to go. I mean, if we're going to keep a couple for the long term, which was the plan anyway, that's great. But some of them have to go. So yeah, I think that would be the thing to do.
By the way, Royal Benjamin, this comment is not making me feel better today. Amari Smith, you're right. Joe Mauer has 1 MVP and 55 WAR. He is also a catcher, so the offensive bar is extremely low, and he by far surpassed it. Oh, there we go, Yogi Berra. I said maybe a catcher. Campanella, I think, has 2 MVPs. There's no way his WAR is that high because he didn't play that long, I don't think. Yeah. Also, Yogi Berra has. Oh God, is it 10 World Series rings, Jeff?
Oh, he's got his both hands full.
Yeah. Plus extra points for being easily one of the 10 ugliest players to ever play baseball. Well, you see, that's the thing, ATL Jeff Black. Should it?
It shouldn't. Right. I agree.
I think where we are right now is that's the kind of thinking that can derail, that can really, really hurt you.
Right.
Maybe I'm approaching
because what is the decision then? If you don't have that much, you hold on to it, thinking it doesn't matter if it goes down. But then what's the opportunity cost? Or if you put a lot into it, you're like, well, I don't want to take a loss. So both ways, I don't think it's the right way.
Yeah, but I actually thought about it immediately the other way. Like those are high dollar cards. We probably have a lot of money into them. We don't want to take that loss, so we're going to hold. But like the way you said, I almost think if you have nothing into those cards, if you bought an Acuña Topps Black in 2018, or you pulled it from a pack and you've been sitting on it, like right now, sell that thing tomorrow and you're going to make money on it.
Yeah. Even if the money's not as high as you would have made last week.
No.
But I'm thinking of the opportunity cost. So let's say we would sell that for $2,000. You have that $2,000. What player would you feel okay putting that in?
Well,
I think I see some ideas here from, let me put this up from Elegant Elliott. This is a great point.
That's a very fair point.
Here it does have 2 healthy ACLs, but our friend Scotty B from Scotty B Cards informed me that his OPS is about 706, I want to say, in Toledo. So not exactly lighting the world on fire, but you could get a lot of good hero cards for that. Yeah,
very true. So yeah, I mean, I think honestly, there's a part of me, and I hate to say this because I feel like this it's just awful. But the situation has me so down. I think I would just take that. I would just take the $2,000 and just bank it.
Yeah.
And just be like, okay, like, sort of as like I can't self-flogging, if you will. You have to punish yourself.
Self-flagellation. Yeah.
Yes, which sounds bad. That sounds like a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's a big word. So look it up. Don't judge us. But yeah, and I think this is a warning. And I will tell you, I have a pretty big Acuna PC, but it's not as big as you might think. If Freddie Freeman pulls a Jared from Subway, that's going to hurt a lot more. I think I've said before that would be the end of my card collecting days. But yeah, I really Filmington said Charizard. Yeah, I mean, you can't. Charizard's not going to get hurt.
No.
But yeah, I do think there's a logic. There's a logic to doing that, Jeff. And I think it's one that we're going to have to really honestly talk about.
I agree. Yeah. Conversations we didn't think we'd be having.
No, but they're ones that you have to just like we're talking about acceptance, and that sometimes you can't just sit there in denial over and over and over again, because that's not going to help either.
Right. And now, okay, well, let's just put it out there. Would you feel better about, I'm trying to think of something roughly the same price as the Acuna. Would you feel better if in your possession right at this moment you had say like a Gatorade Bath Soda of a similar grade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, at this point would probably have to be like an 8.
Yeah.
I think it could be a 9. I don't even know.
Maybe. Yeah. So I don't know. That's the way you have to think about things, right?
Yeah, for sure. And this is always the risk that exists when you're a player collector.
Mm-hmm.
That's something like this.
Player collector.
Active player collector. Excellent. I mean, shit can hit the fan real quick. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Survivor. And in that book, he talks about people that survive natural disasters and the things they have in common with each other. A lot of it is A, blind, stinking luck.
Mm-hmm.
But B, it's people that, and I'm trying to metaphor this into what we're talking about. It's people that move. People that freeze or don't admit the situation that they're in. They're usually the people that, their names are on a wall. But the ones that move are the ones that survive. So maybe, Jeff, we're going to have to move here.
That's a good point. That's a good way to think about it. Here's one to consider while we're talking about selling.
I mean, unfortunately, DJS, Jeff and I acquired what we thought was our Acuña Grail last year.
We sure did.
We sold, and one of the things about it that makes it less nauseating is that we sold 2 big shared Acuñas, and we each sold at least 1 big personal Acuña to cover the cost of that. So we basically sold Acuña to buy Acuña. So all of the cards involved in that acquisition will be dropping at a similar rate, unfortunately. So even if we hadn't picked that card up, the ones we had already would be in the crapper.
That's a good point. All right. Hey, USA Cards really spelling it out for us here.
Dude, I mean, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I've said before that when the playoffs started, a buddy of mine is a big DraftKings or FanDuel. He likes to gamble and bet the overs and parlay stuff together. And he asked me, I'm frequently, like, I feel like I watch a lot of baseball. I know a lot about baseball. I'm wrong all the time. Especially like guys I pick in fantasy, always wrong. Things I think are going to happen, they don't happen. So he asked me before, like that first couple of days of playoffs, like, you tell me what you think will happen, and I'm betting against it every single time. I'm like, this is the greatest strategy of all time.
Yeah.
I told him, I laid it out. I gave him like 10 things. And unbeknownst to me, I talked him into betting on them. And 9 of them went the other way. And he was really mad. I'm like, dude, we had a system. You didn't follow it.
Well, that's kind of on him, I gotta say.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. All right, hold on. I want to catch up on some of these comments here. Amari Smith says he might be able to afford. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Might be able to afford that 2018. Yeah, if that's the thing, like, if you sincerely, one of the biggest lies in the sports card hobby is, only invest what you're comfortable losing. It's the same lie people tell themselves when they walk into a casino.
Right.
But it's completely true because shit like this can happen.
Yeah.
And there's no way of foreseeing it, really. I mean, people could say, "Well, he hurt one knee, sure he's going to hurt the other," but I mean, there's really no way of really predicting some of the crazy stuff that happens.
Yeah, or the Tatis neck gel steroids incident.
Yeah, that's a great call. I mean, we knew he wasn't going to win a Nobel Prize for chemistry, but we didn't think he was that level of stupid.
This is what I was saying, Elliot. Yeah, I feel like that would be something to consider.
Yeah, I would, like, right now, without hesitation, I would make that trade.
Yeah. So if you've got one, hit us up.
Yeah, hit up either of us. We'd make that trade right now.
I get it. Yes, I know we've all been here in whether it's betting or fantasy or cards. It just it's just is so I don't know why. It's just so disappointing and distressing when it happens and you feel like somehow you should have done something else or somehow you did something to add to it.
Yes, no, I completely agree. It's a feeling. It's like the pit in the stomach kind of feeling. It's brutal, especially when it's like your favorite player on your favorite team, on your fantasy team, whose cards you have. Like it's four giant dominoes.
Adds up, right?
And the fourth one drops right on your balls at the end. I also CC says this is a very important collecting tip for anyone who is do not put all your eggs in one basket. Do not put if you're spending doing percentages, don't ever put more than say 25% into one player of your collection. Even that seems high.
If they're active,
yes,
or if they're a pitcher, there's some variables there that you really want to be careful with.
Yes, and that's really interesting because in the last week, Jeff and I we sold a big Ohtani card that we bought at the Burbank show like 15 months ago, and it's probably the most not doing percentages, but the most straight up profit we've made on a card, and that felt fantastic. And then 2 days later, we sold a Vladimir Guerrero card, and I think that might be the biggest loss we've taken on a card, and they happen within about 48 hours of each other. Yeah. And a little tough, but part of the game, I guess, at this point. You just don't know what these people are going to do.
Cardboard showcase. Right
there.
I'm with you. I know. I'm probably tomorrow. I'm going to take a long look at the Acuña cards I have.
Yeah. I
don't know.
Yeah, it's it's hard because I know Cardboard Showcase is like us, and he really likes we don't just collect the players we think are going to be good. I like these players. Like I really enjoy watching Acuña play. I like his whole attitude. I think it's great, and I love the fact that he's now was in the spotlight finally. He's doing commercials for Topps. He's doing commercials for baseball. He's doing he has his own energy drink. But I don't know how long lived all that's going to be now.
We did sell a Vladdy, and he's been hitting great, but again, it's all singles, and singles hitters aren't going to command the prices that his cards have been commanding. So
I wish Vladdy the best, but I mean, at some point, similar to what we're talking about Acuna, you have to sort of accept reality.
And we still have a lot of Vlad, too much.
Yes. So. But we you take your punches and just keep going.
Yeah. As a Sox fan joined.
Yeah. I made sure to I ate a lot of food, and it was hard to eat because when you feel like this, the last thing you want to do is eat. But I had to make sure there's something in there, or else, you know what? I don't want to add alcohol poisoning to my weekend from hell here.
Smart. Canadians a Hobby wants to know if we sold the holding the ball.
No.
That was not the biggest loss. No.
Yeah, that was not the biggest loss. That will end up being a loss, but not the biggest loss. Be very wary of Sapphire in general, everybody. Be very, very wary of Sapphire.
Especially post 2018.
Yeah.
Jorge, I think the conversation's been had about Trout. A lot of it went on again when he went down with the most recent injury.
Yeah.
It's a little different in his case because he does have a legacy solidified with his multiple MVPs and his Hall of Fame worthy WAR now. But yeah, it's definitely a conversation to be had because people thought he was an inner circle Hall of Famer, and maybe maybe there's no path for that now. So
yeah, I think the path for that is gone for Trout. He's still a Hall of Famer, but now he's kind of in the outer rings. JR Mendoza, I won't put that tweet up. I won't put that comment up on the screen, but I'm with you, buddy. That stinks. You got some decisions to make. I want to talk about this, about Jeff's card journey, which is either Jeff's burner account that he's quietly typing away at over there.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh.
Yeah, it's definitely talking. He was bringing up opportunity cost here, right?
Yeah, there's a huge assumption in this comment. He probably has 10 to 12 years left. I can't say that. I don't think any of us can confidently make that claim at this point. We're talking about 2 surgically repaired knees. Maybe I think the best case scenario that he's got 10 years left. I don't know what the lifespan of that is. And it's the kind of thing that I think running backs probably deal with. And we know running backs don't have very long careers. This terrifies me to think about. But he probably will have to spend, if he can play for 10 more years, he'll have to spend some of that as a DH going forward. I mean, he's not Superman. Like this knee situation it'll be fixed, but it's not ever going back to the way it was originally.
Right. And then the second portion of this comment, I would hold until at least the beginning of next season and then evaluate from there. In some cards, I'm sure I will do that just because I can't sell them all. But also, I'm talking about the opportunity cost of investing or of buying, I guess I should say, in another player for those 8 months, because I don't think the prices we're going to see next week, the week after, the week following are going to be the low point for Acuña. So there's going to be a chance to buy back in if you want. So there's an opportunity cost there of that money or those cards, that money involved, wrapped up in those cards, just sitting there at least until the beginning of next season. And like Chris said, it's hard to see a path beyond him winning multiple MVPs that those cards go back up to where they were before.
Yeah, the statistical accumulation path, I think, is more or less unattainable at this point. And yeah, I think to Jeff's card journey, what we saw when he got hurt in 2021, most people held. There wasn't a lot of inventory available for sale, right, Jeff? And the stuff that was, no one was taking, no one's offering discounts. Everyone was just holding.
Players like him, the cost was so high from the beginning, the cost of entry, that a lot of people bought in, and they weren't even going to sell when it started to go up. They wanted to hold until they could get all their money back.
Yeah, we saw that all throughout the MVP year too. Although I will say about May and June, we started to see a lot of cards hit eBay.
Yeah,
people figured this is their chance to get out. So Orioles fan begging. I will be honest. When I think of players that like I missed out on, Gunnar is number one, because he was a guy I was looking at all offseason. I really, really liked him. I was looking at a couple red inks that were up on eBay, and they were a little all centered. I'm like, well, I don't know. So I bought Spencer Strider instead.
Now the thought of buying a guy like Gunnar or Adley, but specifically Gunnar probably more so, that he's priced so high that the risk is so high.
I think the risk is going to be high with anyone who's good at this point. I don't think there's many bargains. Kyle Tucker might be the only statistical superstar out there that you can buy his cards at a reasonable price.
Right, but I'm saying at least Gunnar, if Gunnar's prices are similar to, say, Mookie Betts, who's already pretty much established a legacy, I'd lean that way. It's just too risky for a guy in his first year.
Yeah. I mean, Gunnar's what, 23?
Yeah.
I mean,
or second. He's second season.
Yeah. I don't know. I will probably not be buying any of either of those players. So, Corey Jones, you should be safe. Yeah. The Shelly the Turtle has an interesting comment. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
Shelly the Turtle says we are already seeing some people sort of jumping ship here. Man, is that with glove? Okay, that's actually not that cheap a price, though.
No, it's not that bad.
Okay.
I hope they sell it. You wonder how many returns there's going to be. You remember how big of an issue that's been of anybody that's bought cards, and I don't know what the eBay window is on that anymore.
Someone said in the chat a while back. I was going to talk about it, but I guess there's a red auto. And Acuna has a red auto up on like Golden or PWCC. I forget what the auction house was.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ending tonight or is ending soon, but I mean,
poor
that's just terrible luck.
timing.
We talked about it on Thursday. Someone had that Devers red ink. They put it up, and then while it was up on eBay, he homered in like 5 straight games, and it, ended up setting like a new raw high score. There's the opposite of that. When you put a card up for auction, you just never know what's going to happen. I know we're just going to talk about Acuna, Gabago, but I will say briefly, I shouldn't say anything. I like Devers. Yeah, any franchise record he can get his hands on is always going to be great. And hopefully he stays there and they don't wuss out and trade him, because there's no trade clause in that deal. So that always concerns me. But I love it.
Devers is a guy whose Hall of Fame path is firmly entrenched in the accumulation phase. So he's got to stay healthy. Got to be out there.
Oh, yeah. Jeffrey McDonald, I have no idea what that Yamamoto green auto out of 99, what the value is. There's only one way to find out. Throw it up for bids.
Yep.
Elegant Elliott's asking what Ohtani we sold. If you look up, there's a Topps Chrome blue auto, an SGC 9.5 sold.
Yeah.
You can Google that if you want. Anyway.
Yeah.
Strong disagree, Amari Smith. He does have to lift the ball. Ground balls aren't going over the fence. And I don't know, big guys that hit singles, there's not a lot of long-term love there. Okay, sorry. Jeff, go ahead.
No, I think we've covered a lot of this. I just it's sad. It's sad for the hobby. It's sad for all of baseball. So many superstars are going down, and that just really dilutes the enjoyment of watching games and playing fantasy baseball and opening packs and collecting cards. So it's just, I feel bad for him, and I feel bad for all the Braves fans, especially, but all of baseball fans.
Yeah, I mean, when superstar players get hurt, it stinks. Like, we just want to watch them play. That's why we watch baseball. And when they can't play because they're hurt, it stinks. There's just no getting around it. USA Cards, that's exactly why Jeff and I didn't really get into vintage. We like to collect players we like to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, Shelly, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your thoughts and sharing it.
There's a glass half full look from ATL.
Okay. Could always use that.
Yep. Okay, well, I'm just trying to. La Rufa is going to take some heat for this. He says it's his fault. He pulled a nice Guerrero Acuña auto today.
Oh, number to 10.
It's not your fault, and I will tell you whose fault it is. It's very clearly my fault. Last night, I actually sent a message. I'm in a couple of different fantasy leagues, but in one of them, it's a dynasty head-to-head. I have Julio Rodriguez, and I sent a message to the team, a buddy of mine that I've known for a while, that has Acuña. And I said, hey, how do you feel about let's swap struggling outfielders? What do you think? So,
yeah, that might be your fault then.
Just the mere idea of me acquiring him on another team, I think putting that out into the atmosphere was just too much. It was too much.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, we appreciate everybody joining this little session. This little session we immersion. Yes, thanks for coming along and helping console us with some positive news, and also just joining in the raw feelings that we have when a player like this gets hurt. I mean, I know it's kind of it's nerdy to be collecting cards and having so much of your own enjoyment of something tied up in other players' well-being, but that's the life we've chosen, Chris. So
it's more the life that was thrust upon us in my particular case. Doc's Cards, listen, Jeff and I, despite neither of us being Phillies fans, we actually have a fairly nice little Harper PC, and it's not doing anything. It's not slowing him down.
No.
Which is fine. I enjoy watching Harper hit. Not so much in that first round in October, but I like watching him play during the regular season.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is good. I cannot believe, Jeff, that twice in the last 4 years, I'm going to go to bed with a lingering image of my favorite player like barely able to get himself off the field. It just
Yes,
seems,
it's pretty. I can't imagine how distraught you must be when you wake up in the morning and realize it wasn't just a bad dream.
yeah, seriously. To answer Kevin Morales' very well put question, what's hurting more, Acuña's ACL or my liver? Currently, the ACL is definitely feeling more pain, but in about an hour, it might be awfully close. It might be a photo finish.
Are you going to get some surprise chicken chunks tonight to help quell this?
No, no, I don't want to start associating something as delicious and wonderful as chicken chunks with something sad.
I get that.
Maybe I'll have some sad food later. I don't know. What's a good sad food choice, Jeff?
Burying your head in a big bucket of ice cream.
See, ice cream is like a summer happy time thing. What's sad food? I don't even know. I'm not like an emotional food person. I don't know how to connect those two.
Well, we appreciate everybody joining us on this late notice live. We just thought it was important to come on here and talk a little bit about the Braves, what they're going to do. I see Royale has a question here for you, Chris.
Yeah, who's going to lead off now? That's a great question. They put Michael Harris there in the past, and I don't think it's gone very well. And the way he's going, I wouldn't give him more at bats. Albies would be a candidate. There is this is a great answer. Oatmeal raisin cookies are very sad, particularly when you think they're chocolate chip, as we learned. Cold pizza. Cold pizza, that's sadness to me. The cold pizza, hot, they'd be like a hot dog thawing in your kitchen sink. Little Simpsons reference. Doc's card says Kelenic, and I think this is a dark horse candidate to lead off.
I like it.
He came in for Acuña, and he looked really good in his at-bats today. So they may give that a shot. I would actually support that. I think he's the kind of guy, the more at-bats we can get him, the better it can be.
Yeah. Well, they'll make it through, just like Chris will, and just like we all will with our collections. Our bank accounts may suffer, but hopefully Acuña comes back healthy and does have that great career, the optimistic 10 to 12 years left when he comes back with both repaired knees. Yeah, a quick summation. I feel like this is sort of, use what's happening to Jeff and I as sort of a warning. Look at your own collections and try to figure out the percentages you're into each player. And if one player is getting too high, it's time to let's diversify a little bit. You don't want to be 45% of your collection as one person and have their knee go out or have their calf rip or their back break. Take some time during this week and really look at what you're collecting, how you're going about it, and see if you can't diversify a little bit, minimize some risk. Great advice. Yes. Use our pain wisely. Yeah, seriously. All right. Any final thoughts besides that? That's some great advice, Chris. We appreciate you being able to dish out some good advice, even on a night such as this. Final thoughts. God, it stinks. The whole thing stinks. It stinks. It just stinks. It stinks. That's all I got. Fair enough. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Please hit that like and subscribe to us. We do our live show every Thursday night. If you're not a current subscriber, you can find us there. And hopefully we don't have to do any more of these lives for injury purposes, but we do like talking about current events. So we're going to try to hit the live. So hit that notification button and you'll know every time we go live. Yeah. Happy lives from now on if we can do it, Jeff. Happy lives. That sounds good. That's a good plan. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will talk to you on Thursday night. Happy Memorial Day.